Yes.
Selling points on relationship, build trust, and breaking the wall, security, a lot of points. So as you mentioned, Kishkindarka and Hanuman just enters there, right? So how did he build the trust, or how did Lord Rama gave him that major responsibility? And vice versa, Hanuman also built the trust both with Lord Rama as well as Sita, right? So how do we take this in real life, right? How do we build the trust, break the wall with an unknown person, especially if you don't have much context about the person?
Yes. So how do we build a trust with unknown people? As I said, basically focus on the common points. So Hanuman and Ram, the common point, Sita and Hanuman, the common point was Ram. So some ways, if you meet a new person, if say they are from the same state where we are from, then we speak in a common language. That creates some bond with us. Or if we work in the same company, then there is some commonality. If we maybe the same profession, even if not the same company, that creates commonality. So basically, there is a circle of our interests, circle of things which concern us, and circle of things which concern them. So we find the common point. That's how we move forward. That's how any relationship can grow. Otherwise, sometimes we meet people and if we don't know what to talk, we just make small talk. So sometimes we may go to get together and 10 people, all of them ask, the weather is good today, isn't it? The weather is good today. So we just make him talk. It's okay as a starting point, but we should speak not because we have to say something, but because we have something to say. So in general, if we just come a little bit out of our box and try to think about what is it that is of concern to this person, which is also of my interest. So generally, one of the easiest ways to build trust with people is to ask them about their interests. If you don't know what their interests are, then just ask them about themselves. So when we ask them about themselves, and they may be reserved in speaking initially, but they speak a few things, and then we can find out, okay, what is it that is common between us. So basically, in every interaction, if it's not just a functional interaction, you go to a shop and buy something, it's functional, but it's something where we want to develop a relationship. So then we have to find out what their interests are and then check where their interest correlates with our interest. So if we take the time to hear, basically love or respect or affection, it can be conveyed in many different ways. But the beginning of doing it all is two things: to hear and to understand. To hear what this person has to say, and then not just hear the words to try to fit it into our worldview, is to understand. In the whole Bhagavad Gita, the first chapter is Arjuna speaking to Krishna. So Arjuna is pouring out his heart, and throughout all Krishna just hears. And Krishna understands what Arjuna is going through. And then later on, when Arjuna speaks, when Krishna speaks, Arjuna is ready to hear. Because Krishna has heard out Arjuna's case. So basically, when we understand, that doesn't necessarily mean we have to accept what they're saying. They may have some understanding which may not be exactly correct, or their opinion may be different from ours. But at least we understand, we show them that we understand. Suppose we go to a doctor, and even before we speak anything, the doctor gives a prescription. What do you mean? Let me tell my symptoms. No, I know your symptoms. Now, even if the doctor is expert enough just to look at a patient and understand what the symptoms are, still the point is not just to give the prescription. The point of the doctor's interaction with the patient is also to inspire the patient to take the prescription. And for that inspiration to be there in the patient has to feel heard and understood. Okay, this is my problem, and the doctor understands the problem, and then the doctor gives this prescription. So, in the doctor, although in a sense, it is the patient who needs the doctor. And in that sense, the patient has to put the trust. But the doctor has to earn that trust. Doctor has to understand So hear and understand. When they do that, and after that when the doctor speaks, patient, okay, patient will be more receptive to accepting it. So similarly for us, in general when we interact with others, the first thing we can do is hear and understand. If we do that, that itself is a significant step forward in not necessarily winning their trust, but at least beginning the process for earning their trust. Sometimes we just, when we are interacting with an entirely new person, it is like entering into darkness. We don't even know what is going to come next. But the one sure way by which you can turn on the light whenever there is darkness is just ask them about themselves. And to the extent they speak, we hear and we understand. And then to that extent, the light starts coming, and then we can find the common areas. Answer your question?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Few months back, we were having a get together, and we ended up talking about Rama, Lord Rama. One of the Mataji said, "I don't like Lord Rama," and of course the question was, just because listening to Dobi, he left Mother Sita. So what was the message to the people of kingdom at that time, and what is the message for us? Why did Lord Rama do that? Why did he leave Sita just by listening to the words of Dobi?
Yeah. So why did Ram leave Sita? Just by hearing some unsubstantiated accusation by a washerman. Actually, last time when I had come, I gave a whole class on this topic.
It was 1 hour class.
The 1 hour class, but I'll try to speak in as briefly as possible here. Mainly, there is a conflict of duties. So firstly let's start with the misconception. Is it that Ram himself suspected Sita? Is it Ram himself for his own sake rejected Sita? If Ram had suspected or rejected Sita on his own personal account, then he could immediately have got married to someone else. He did not do that. Not only did he not get married to anyone else, when the sacrifices had to be performed, at that time he insisted that a golden image of Sita be made and put that in front next to her. Now sacrifices, yajnas, require a certain level of purity. So if he had thought that Sita was impure, then how would he have had Sita in that sacrifice with him? So that means from his perspective, from his personal perspective, he held Sita in so much regard that he considered her fit to be with him even for fire sacrifices. So in that sense, it was not Ram as a person, Ram as the husband who rejected Sita as a wife. It was Ram as a king who did that. So we all have different roles in which we have different responsibilities. And sometimes the responsibilities from different roles may go in conflict. So in this case, for Ram, it was important for him to ensure that as a king, he is exemplary. And his being exemplary meant that there should not be any suspicion about anyone connected with him also. So he had already taken preventive measures. Sita had already done the Agni Pariksha. And not only just Lakshman and others or Vanaras, even the Devatas had been present over there. So if in spite of that, still people were accusing, then what more could Ram do? So if he decided to take action against those who were casting that accusation, that would only make him seem that he was so attached that anybody who accuses him, he takes vindictive action against them. So he had his duty as a king, and he had duty as a duty as his husband. So now these two duties came in conflict. The husband should always cherish and protect the wife, but as a king, he had to do what it took to maintain the position, the sanctity of the position of the king. So the way he found the solution was that he sent Sita away from her. Sometimes the word may be used that he exiled her, but exile is not the right word exactly, because exile means one is sent out into the forest with absolutely no one to care for. But Ram sent Sita, yes, into the forest, but that forest was still in his kingdom only, and is right next to Valmiki's ashram. So in that sense, he he knew that she would take shelter in Valmiki's ashram, Valmiki will give her shelter. And Valmiki's ashram was under his kingdom only. So in that sense, Sita was still indirectly under his protection. So the accusation at that time was that Jesse is so attached to his wife that even though her character is suspect, still he is staying with her. The accusation was not so much about Sita's character as about his attachment. There's a difference between the two. The accusation was that he is so attached to his wife that he, although she has stayed at some other man's place for so long, he's still taking her back. So it was a question about his attachment. So he actually, by sending Sita away, he showed that he was not attached. Now why is it so important for a king to show that he is not attached? Because the king has royal opulence with him. And the king's royal opulence means that the king can be attached materially more than anyone else. But when the king shows through his example that despite having so much I am not attached, then that sets an example of detachment among the followers. So it is not, at one level Sita was greatly mortified, devastated when she was sent away by Ram. But at the same time she understood. She was shattered, but she understood what Ram was doing. And we may put this in terms of, Sita had to suffer so much. But for Sita, the suffering was not just being in the forest. The suffering was being separated from Ram. And Ram himself had to go to the same suffering. Ram did not try to find a substitute for Sita to get away from that suffering. So in that sense, actually, instead of seeing that Ram sent Sita away, it was circumstances which separated Ram and Sita, and because of which both of them suffered. So we could say Ram's situation in his interaction with Sita in this situation is similar to Dashrath's situation earlier when Dashrath had to send Ram away. Dashrath did not send Ram away because he considered Ram guilty or he wanted to punish Ram or he suspected Ram. Nothing like that. It was the word of honor which he had given earlier to Kaikeyi. So it was against his will, forced by a situation, that Dashrath had to send Ram away. And that separation, it crushed Dashrath also. So similarly, for Ram, when he sent Sita away, it was not that he considered Sita wrong and that's why he sent Sita away. Rather, situation that forced him to do that. And he was as afflicted by that separation as was Sita. So the lesson that is taught through this is that it's a lesson of the importance of detachment. And at a higher level, there are many other levels of understanding also. There was a demon who had got a vow that he would never be killed as long as Lakshmi and Narayana were united. And he had got that benediction. And he thought Lakshmi and Narayana will never be separated. So therefore, I will never be killed. But then the Lord arranged in such a way that, actually this is, there are two stories are there. So this one story, so this is told by Madhvacharya in his Mahabharata Tatparnirnaya, where he talks about Ramayana also. So he says that demon, that's why what happened was that after some time, for a few years, that Sita was separated. But eventually Ram said, enough, now I want to get Sita back. And then he calls Sita back. And Sita comes, at that time, she enters into the earth. But he calls Sita back at that time. So what happens is, at that particular time when he calls Sita back, till that time, the Devatas are fighting with that demon. They are fighting. And the moment that demon is killed, at that time Ram calls Sita back. So there's a higher purpose for that. And so there's also another story that there was a demon who had taken shelter of Bhrigu Muni's wife. And this demon had been terrorizing the universe. And Bhrigu Muni's wife, in his case of misdirected compassion, she said that he's under my protection now, you cannot harm him. So Vishnu and the Devas were chasing after that demon. He said, no, if he is not killed now, he will ever cover the universe. No, he cannot be killed. So at that time, in order to get to that demon, Vishnu killed Bhrigu's wife. So it was not Vishnu who did that, but it was a mystical power by which it happened that she lost her body. Of course, Bhrigu arranged and Vishnu arranged for her to come back to life afterwards. But initially, when Bhrigu saw this, oh, you caused me to be separated from my wife, I curse you, you will be separated from my wife.
Oh.
So it was a series of previous life connections also, because of which this had to be done. At the highest level, we also saw that, understand that there is love in separation is considered the highest expression of love. So both Sita and Ram, they experience that highest expression of love, highest reciprocation of love in separation. So that is the various level at which you understand Ram sending Sita.
Thank you.
Shall we stop here? So thank you very much. Ramachandra Bhagwan ki
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Gaur Bhaktavinda ki Jai. Gaur Premanand.
Chaitanya Prabhu ki.
Jai.
Thank you very much for everyone for coming. Those who were not there yesterday we also had a similar nectar yesterday evening, and we are going to have 3 more sessions. One is today evening, one is tomorrow morning at our home in the Chandler, and tomorrow evening there's another session in the temple. So Prabhuji will continue the same theme, that lessons we can learn from Hanuman. So if you are available, please try to come. If it is too far from you, at least try to come in 1 or 2 sessions, whatever is possible for you. That will be wonderful. I think most of you here last time, but if just in case someone is new, I can just quickly tell about Prabhuji. Chaitanya Chand Prabhu is an author, speaker, and he's a monk. He's practicing Krishna consciousness from last 20 years. He daily writes one article on about the Bhagavad Gita, and which has around 2,000 articles now on Bhagavad Gita. And he's also written around more than 20 books on the Vedic philosophy. And he travels all over the world and speak about the Vedic philosophy in the different international forums, corporates and universities. And he's also Shastrik, he is also member of Shastrik Advisory Committee of ISKCON and editor of Back to Godhead magazine. So Prabhuji has a lot of content, and we have I would say most of the Prabhuji's book today. Would you like to say about one line? Or?
Are there any of you who are not there for any of my previous programs, either today or yesterday or last year? Last year. Okay. So this is, I've written several books on the Bhagavad Gita. This is Gita for Daily Enrichment. 365 articles on the Bhagavad Gita which explain practically how the Bhagavad Gita can be applied in our daily lives. Similarly, there are 3 other. There is Minded, which is 64 reflections on the Bhagavad Gita, practically explaining how the Bhagavad Gita can be helped to deal with especially the issues of the mind. This is the new book, Inner Change. This talks about 121 reflections on the Bhagavad Gita, which can help us to understand how we can change ourselves and become better human beings. And there are several other books. This is Idol Worship or Ideal Worship. This question answers of explaining the philosophy of deity worship. We have PK. Yeah. There are 2 books on Bollywood movies also. This is GK for PK. This is about the Bollywood movie PK and the questions that were raised in that movie that are answered in this book. GK refers to 3 levels. It is general knowledge, God knowledge, and Gita knowledge. The questions are answered based on that. So like that, we have several books, and we have also 3 pen drives, which I think we didn't have last time. One pen drive has about 150 classes that I gave last time when I was on my spring tour of America in 2017. One more pen drive has 2,000 question answers of the kind which we just discussed after the class, and another pen drive has 2,000 short Gita reflections, 5-minute reflections. So if you want any of these, thank you very much.
So if I'm just trying to display book here. If you need any book, please let me know. Okay. All small books cost just $7. Let me know if you need any book. I'll be here. Both these pendants are different from last year. It's the same? Different.
School's over.